Pride and profit, you got motive. The misconduct's plain as day. And there was an attempt to cover it up. The same month, Biden opens an investigation into Trump's handling of classified documents. He dispatches his team to gather all of the classified documents that he'd been stashing. Then Biden's team waits a year and a half to announce they'd found classified documents at the Penn Biden Center. An 18-month mop-up job at your house while you raid your opponent's house. That's not cooperating with investigators. In fact, the second they heard a special counsel had been appointed, Biden's ghostwriter deleted evidence.
Ghostwriter has recordings of Biden making admissions of crimes. He then learns that you've been appointed. He then deletes the information that is the evidence, and you don't charge him.
That is reflected in the report. One of the things that Mr. Zwanitzer did not delete was transcripts of the recordings that he had created that included inculpatory evidence relating to Mr. Biden.
Oh, so if you destroy some evidence but not other evidence, that somehow absolves you of the evidence you destroy? Here's what I see. Zwanigler should have been charged, wasn't. Biden and Trump should have been treated equally. They weren't. And that is the double standard that I think a lot of Americans are concerned about.
In the last 3 elections, 3 candidates have been accused of mishandling documents: Hillary, Biden, and Trump. And only one's been charged. The only one who was president with declassification authority. The other 2 risked national security for pride and profit, got caught, destroyed evidence, and then lost their memories. But is Biden playing dumb or just dumb?
I would not be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury that that intent element had been
right, met. But the reason you have that doubt is the senile cooperator theory. The fact that Joe Biden is so inept in responding that you can't prove the intent, which, again, I don't quibble with that conclusion, but it's frustrating to be like, oh, well, this guy's not getting treated the same way as Trump because the elevator's not going to the top floor, so we can't prove intent. While at the same time, Biden goes out there at the White House and says, well, you know, he just blatantly lies. And what I'm trying to figure out is whether or not Biden's lying because he's still so senile, he hasn't read your report, or whether it's a little craftier and a little more devious and perhaps a little more intentional than we might otherwise think.
Yeah, so prosecutors are claiming Biden's too forgetful to be prosecuted, but Trump's sharp enough to stand trial. That's not how the law works.
We have a former vice president who will not suffer any consequences for all of these actions, all because we say, well, he's a well-meaning, forgetful old man. You know, if you were kind of a well-meaning, forgetful old man that was driving a car and you forgot what you were doing a little bit and you hit somebody and killed them, I believe you'd be responsible. The law must apply.
Now, the real reason Hur didn't charge Biden is because he didn't think he'd get a conviction. But it's not why, it's where. Hur didn't think he could get Biden convicted in D.C., and that's where the jury would be. Outside of D.C., fair jury, sure. But Biden's poor mental state let him escape justice, which is forcing the media to argue that Biden's competent enough to be president, but not competent enough to stand trial.
You have this image of this poor guy sitting on a park bench, you know, feeding the birds. That's not who Joe Biden is.
He really wasn't carrying their water. I think you've shown the work on the old man sitting on the bench feeding the pigeons.
It comes after Joe Biden just had a very successful, effective State of the Union address. So nobody who saw him on that night is going to think of him as Gloria said, a kindly old man sitting on a park bench feeding the pigeons.
The president sitting on a park bench feeding the pigeons is what saved Democrats from nominating Kamala.